today's world, changing your mindset.
Youth and politics has been on the news lately. There's this saying that 60% of Nigerian youths are directly involved in politics, but less than 5 or 6% of them are involved in policy making. Good to have you on another edition of your weekly TV talk show, Be This World. It's my pleasure to have you join us this week. A quick break, I'll be right back. Don't get away. Welcome back to just joining us. This is Be This World. And today I will be talking about youth and politics. You will agree with me that lately it's been making news in our airways. Yes, to join me on the studio today to discuss this issue that has been bothering us, has been making waves in our airways, is a man with brain. Some people are asking, how do I know? I don't know, but you will judge today. He is the former Deputy Managing Director at Dangote Flour Mill, former gubernatorial aspirant of Kaduna State, the Managing Director, Chief Executive, Timeline Consult. He's no other person than Shuaibu Idirs. Sir, it's my pleasure to have you on Be This World show today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Viewers, good day to all of us.
Youth and politics, sir. There's this saying that 60% of eligible youths or voters in Nigeria are youth, but less than 6 or 5% of them are involved in policy making in Nigeria. Now, one will ask, why is this so?
Yes, what you have painted is probably a correct picture, because that is the general perception and the belief that close to about 60% of Nigeria's population are youths, and indeed less than 10% of them are actively involved in politics, and by implication actively involved in policy making. And most of these policies are supposed to be short-term, medium-term and long-term, which means the policies will certainly affect these youths, and those that are supposed to have the impact of these policies are not directly involved. It is indeed an unfortunate scenario that we have in our country as at now, but is Nigeria the only one? I don't think so. Even in developed worlds like the Europe and American continents, countries in those continents are also suffering almost the same pathetic situation, that youth seldom get involved in the political discussion or in actively engage in seeking positions so that they can play a vital role in policy making and policy formulation. One of the possible reasons why we may be facing this is probably the perception that politics is a dirty game. Most people don't want to be associated with dirty games. Of course, like I said, it's perception. No matter how dirty politics is, when you refuse to get involved, what may end up in happening is those that you may not want to be your leaders will end up to be your leaders. So there is the need to change that attitude. Secondly, a number of people feel very strongly, and rightly so, that politics is indeed very expensive. Quite a number of these youths may not have the resources needed to muster the courage to put themselves either for elective position or to even actively be involved in the political dispensation of this country. I think it will be wise, and indeed it will be necessary, if not extremely important, to all of us as parents to guide and counsel our children so that they can get involved actively in the political dispensation of this country, so that even if they don't get to vie for elective position, they should be involved in determining who becomes a councillor in your ward, who becomes a member of the House of Assembly in the respective state, who becomes the chairman of a local government, who becomes the governor of a state, who becomes your representative in the House of Representatives or the senator or even the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have a situation where in Cameroon, in France rather, recently a 33-year-old young man has become the president of the Republic of Cameroon. in Austria or is it Australia, another young man has emerged as prime minister. Why wouldn't we want to wake up one fine morning to find a 35 or 40-year-old Nigerian becoming the president?
Exactly.
If we remember, let me land please. If you can remember, President Obasanjo did have a 32-year-old young man as a minister with full portfolio. One gentleman called Emeka, who was like a younger brother to me when we were in the banking industry. So I mean, there were opportunities for the youth to put themselves forward and become, key players in the decision-making process.
Yes, sir. I like what you said here, and probably you've answered the first part of my question I wanted to say. You said it's not peculiar with Nigerian youth not getting involved, and you're actually answering when you say in France you have a 39-year-old boy, imagine as their president. That one has been taken. Now another one we want to look at is the perception. You've been involved in Nigerian politics. Is it actually dirty?
Well, it depends upon what you define as dirty. Of course, when you want to be fair and sincere and reasonable, you will say the Nigerian political terrain is a bit dirty. Why is it dirty? You get people trying to pull you down from all angles. You get people smear your name, smear your image, particularly in this day and age of social media, where almost any kind of news goes. Somebody will just paint you a gory picture of you being either this or that bad, and without any checking, people will begin to circulate the same thing either on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, on Instagram, and all the social media of this world that you can think. So obviously, politics is a bit dirty, but the fact that it is dirty, is that a sufficient reason for people to shy away? Why do I care how people paint me when I know apart from the fact that I even have something to offer, when I know who I am? If you call me Mr. Badman, yes, okay, it may stick for a few seconds or a few days or a few weeks or a few months, but gradually people will realize that I'm not that bad.
Exactly.
So therefore, as dirty as politics is in Nigeria, as expensive as politics may be in Nigeria as are today, it is still wise that youths and everybody should get involved in deciding the future of this country and indeed the leaders of this country.
Now, I like the area you've taken this question to now, the expensive nature of faith. Now, because of the expensive nature of faith, now a bill was recently passed, not too young to run. You will agree with me that our president Buhari, Obasanjo, our forefathers, when they entered into politics, the oldest among them was Azikiwe, who was in his 30s. Today, a bill not too young was passed, and youths in their 40s are jubilating. Now I asked you, is it not too young bill to run that Nigerian youth actually need to get involved, or independent candidacy, considering the expensive nature of the Nigerian politics you talked about?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that question, but I'd like to make a slight correction here. President Obasanjo became president in his late 70s, in early 70s later. So even the first time when he became a military head of state was over 40. The person that became the head of state of this country at a fairly tender age was General Yakubu Gowon at the age of 32, 33. So therefore, politically, Nigerian political leaders, with the probable exception of the politicians of the First Republic, the likes of Nnamdi Azikiwe of blessed memory, Awolowo of blessed memory, Ahmadu Bello, Sir Ahmadu Bello of blessed memory, and Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa of blessed memory, and the likes of Okotie-Eboh and the rest of them, they were quite and fairly young, below their 40s when they went into politics. And we were lucky to have them. But when the military truncated democracy, and we had a long gestation of military leadership, by the time the Second Republic flagged off, most of the politicians of the Second Republic were in their late 40s, early 50s. So you will say they were middle age, not young. I won't call 40, 50 years old as young. They were quite young, given their respective ages. But of recent, We had an Obasanjo that came in this Fourth Republic that we call it. Obasanjo was over 70 when he assumed leadership. Late Eradua was about 60 when he became president. The same thing with Goodluck Jonathan, and the current president is somewhere around 75. To my mind, there is absolutely nothing about having a cocktail. What do I mean by a cocktail? A mixture of the not so old and the old, a mixture of not so young, and a mixture of the middle level politicians. Make it even better so that the younger one will have something to learn from the older ones, and the older one will be able to pass their experiences and mantle of leadership gradually to the young ones. If you look at what is happening in the United States of America, Obama became president of America at the age of 42. George Bush Jr. became president of America at the age of 47 or thereabout. As of today, we have a Donald Trump who is the president of America at the age of 70, a little over 70, 72, 73. So really, is there anything wrong in the age of the president? I don't think so. South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa that has just been sworn in as president is in his early 60s. So really, age is not the issue. The issue are basically 1, 2, 3. Number one, having the mindset to lead and to lead with a vision. Having the mindset to have a mission, having the mindset to develop absolute core values that every citizen of the country could tag along. If I'm to talk about the second part of your question, the independent candidature or candidacy of, in our polity, I think it is high time that the Electoral Act should be revisited with a view to being amended so that we can allow independent candidacy in our body politics. The reason is not perfect. If I have a mission and a vision, and I do not appear to have any political party that shares similar ideology or thought process, why must I go and be subsumed under a platform that I do not share the same beliefs or aspirations? If Cotonou, Benin Republic, our neighbor, as small as that country is, even though their democracy is a bit more developed than us because they have been having democratic dispensation for years, they have independent candidacy, why not Nigeria? I think it is high time that the Electoral Act be revisited with a view to allowing independent candidature.
No, sir. From what you said, we are still on the point you earlier made, how we'll get this thing right, decision making. Now, how will we get this thing right? How will Nigerian youth get involved in making good decisions when they don't have option when it comes to election period? It is what the politicians present to them they'll take. They don't give them free hand to choose who they will vote for or who presents them. How then will they make that decision?
Well, I think you must agree with me that we did address the fact that the youth have shown some level of apathy. We started on the premise that 60% of Nigeria's population are youth, and less than 6 or 10% of the population of this country are involved in the politics of this country. And the issue that you can easily sort out is the fact that where are the youths that are ready, willing and able to offer themselves for service? I mean, you have a political party that is supposed to be running primary elections, just for argument's sake, for the position of councillor. And out of the 7 candidates that are vying for the councillorship position of, say, Etiosa Ward 1 in Lagos, out of the 7, 6 of them are 55 or 57-year-old or thereabout. Now, only 1 or 2 are in their mid-30s. Head or tail, law of large number, and in this probability statistic, when you were to dip your hands, out of 7 candidates, 1 is 35, the other are in their 60s, 1/7 is what percentage? So obviously, the only way is to encourage youth, like I said, we the parents, we that have decided to take a plunge, despite the fact that we know that it is expensive, we know that it is dirty, and we were ready to stake our neck and say, well, I don't have 1 billion naira to spend, I may have 20 million naira to spend, but I will still make an impact. And some of us did make impact, notwithstanding the fact that yes, we didn't win election, but we were heard, we were recorded, and we were recognized, because notwithstanding the fact that we didn't spend so much money, we were able to make those impacts. So the only possible way to change the situation is, number one, to continuously engage and encourage youth at all levels, from the family level, from the school level, from the workplace level, from the community level, from the society level, at every fora that we may have. We must encourage our youth to take more than passive interest, to take active interest in politics and politicking, so that they can decide who becomes what in their locality. A situation where you meet a gentleman or a lady on the street and you ask him or her, who do you know who is your councillor or who is representing you at the State House of Assembly or even the chairman of the local government, and you get a blank face, is totally unacceptable. And the challenge is, unless otherwise we become directly involved in deciding who becomes our councillor, who becomes the local government chairman, or who occupy which position or what position, we may not be able to hold these gentlemen and ladies in these positions accountable. And we need to be doing that. We need to engage them in discussion. And much more than that, we also need to be constructively criticizing them. What you are doing is right, what you are doing is wrong, you need to change it, you need to do this, you need to do that. And remember, if these guys were to be in a plane and the pilot and the co-pilot are the leadership and they are taking us into perdition, will we sit down and allow them to take us to peril? No, we wouldn't. So leadership is such that we must engage with them by advising them, we must engage in them by suggesting to them, and we must engage them by guiding them to say what you are doing is right and what you are doing is wrong, and we need to change. And unless otherwise we do that, we shall be having challenges, and that is the challenge that is facing Nigeria today.
Well, I like that you said there, we must constructively challenge them and criticize them. That's the only way we put them on check and remind them that they are actually representing us there. But before that, recently, a professor in this country actually said that, made a comment that come 2019, the Nigerians will regret it if they elect a youth as the president of this country. And what do you think about that? But before you answer that question, let's go for a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
My view pertaining to Nigerian politics and youth is that not enough youths are doing anything. That's one. And two, most of them have no idea in terms of knowledge for policy making, knowledge for leadership. I find that there are leadership conferences going on, but how many of these youths or young ones have taken advantage of that, or do they know that they have a form in the presidency?
We discovered that most Nigerian youth that we see are becoming errand boys for politicians. All they do this, do that, they become thugs and helps for them to win something, which is wrong. Because all these politicians that we see, they started at a very, very young age. Yaradua was young, when was the head of, he was in his 20s, most of them were in his 20s. So when you see a lot of the 20s people, and when they're in their 20s like that, you discover that most of them have no idea what leadership is. And leadership starts from your home. How do you do when you are alone with your family? Do you take responsibility? How do you handle the workplace? Do you expect your boss to always give you direction? So I think basically it's our mindset, because we've grown to be slaves for the adults. I think it's time for us to just wake up.
I feel the government should give youths privilege to be able to rule the country. Because I feel these people have more ideas to render to the nation building than old ones who are able to can't go into politics. There are some students that are in school in the SUGT and they did a lot of nice things in school. Now they built the school, they created good things for the school to be able to use. Now these people, they don't have the opportunity to be able to do the same thing. So I feel youth should be able to rule the country. They are ready. They are very ready. Even me, I'm ready. It's an opportunity for me to be president of Nigeria. I know I'm going to create a change in the country.
Joining us, this is Baby Swole. My guest has been Shuaibu Idirs, and we're discussing youth and politics in Nigeria. Now, sir, before we went on break, I reminded you of a comment that's trading in social media. The professor who said that come 2019, Nigerians would be great if they elect youth as a president of this country. That still reminds me of what former president of this country, the statement he made that Nigerian youths are not ready to take over. So, what is all this, and what do you think about all these statements?
Well, very good question. It is a bit difficult for me to categorically or fundamentally disagree with elder statements like President or former President Olusegun Obasanjo, or a professor maybe of political science, since I'm just a kindergarten student of politics. But be that as it may, they may have a basis and reasons why they hold that view or those views. To the best of my knowledge, there are quite a number of youth of this country that are well educated, they are experienced, exposed, and well trained, that if they are tried, Nigerians will not regret. If anything, Nigerians will jubilate and celebrate and say yes. The aspect that we already touched, that parents, schools, workplaces, community, and in these societies and religious bodies should continue to encourage the youth to take interest and become active in politics. Unless otherwise we are doing that, the future may not be rosy for all of us.
Alaji, you said we should encourage our youth. So come 2019, where should we be expecting you? At the Senate, in the governor south of Kaduna State, where should we be expecting you?
Well, I think time will tell, but let me tell you that I'm not sure if I can consider myself a youth. I'm already over 50, so I may not qualify to be called a youth. But time will tell. I think it is a bit premature and a bit early to decide whether I intend to contest the councillorship for my ward or the chairmanship of my local government or even the member of the House of Assembly in my state. I'm still watching the situation, and I will decide sooner rather than later.
This is 2018, and the election will soon start, and you're telling me you've not even made a decision?
No, it is still premature. If you know what politics is and what it takes, you don't just out of the blues wake up overnight and decide. Remember, you did call me former gubernatorial aspirant. I contested the governorship of Kaduna State in 2007 and in 2011. On each occasion, I lost at the primary election level. So, if anything, I should have learned my lesson, and I should be able to be careful before I take a plunge again.
I hope you're not giving up.
You never say never, but also you need to be careful. Sometimes maybe what you are aiming to get may not be the best for you, so you may have a rethink and say, maybe instead of governor, I should go for councillorship. Let me start with councillorship or chairman of local government. That may be easier for me to pick up the ticket and win than to go for governorship. But time will tell, and the people of Kaduna State will take take that decision, not mine.
It's okay. That's nice. Please, could you tell us a little about Timeline Consults?
Timeline Consult is a financial and management consultancy firm. We have a stream of staff that are diverse in so many fields: engineering, accounting, banking and finance. And we have clientele ranging from the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is federal government of Nigeria, some state government, some small, medium and small and medium scale enterprises, as well as the large enterprises. We do advisory services, we do training, we do research, we do capacity building, and we have had clients as far as from Gambia and Ghana, to mention but a few.
Wow, Alhaji, it's been wonderful speaking with you. Alhaji Shuaibu Idirs.
Thank you very much. Shuaibu Idirs, popularly called Mikati in Kaduna State.
Meaning what, Alhaji?
Mikati is just a political name that most people know me with. If you go to Kaduna, you say Shuaibu Idirs. If you don't say Mikati, maybe people will hardly even recognize who the person you are talking about.
Wow. Thank you, Alhaji Mikati, for coming on Videos Show.
Thank you very much for having me, and viewers, thank you very much.
We appreciate that. Wow, we've heard it from Alhaji Idirs, Shuaibu Idirs, Mikati. Remember, in case you find your way in Kaduna State, don't forget to put Mikati so that you don't miss your way. He has said it all. The most important thing he said that we should encourage our youth. And that mindset that politics is dirty, we should remove it. If you don't get involved, the wrong people will lead and make the policies for you. And that's actually the stage at which we are now in Nigeria. I think a lot of Nigerian youth should come and get involved. Get involved. Not just your voter card like that, making wave in our airways. Get involved. Get involved in making decisions and question your leaders. Ask them questions constructively. Remember, he said it. Wow, that's much we'll be taking today on Daily Voice Show. Remember, if you missed this interview, you can watch it online on www.videosworld.tv. Bye.